Your financial needs aren't independent of each other, so your financial advisors shouldn't be either. At Mercantile Bank, our experienced United Wealth professionals are united to serve you and your complete financial planning and wealth management needs. Are you just starting your investment journey or need to roll over a retirement plan? Do you need to plan for a loved one with special needs or for your own life after work? Maybe your business needs a succession plan or you want to enhance your employee benefit programs. Whatever steps you need to take, our United Wealth experts are ready to take them with you. Together, we are united.
Hi, this is Ron Kinscherf for Muddy River News. This is the Business Spotlight brought to you by Mercantile Bank and Robert Phillips Attorneys at Law. We have Ashley Stroot with Quincy Medical Group, and you are a midwife.
I am.
All right, so just a real high-level description of what a midwife does or who you are.
Yes. So I'm a certified nurse midwife. I'm also dual board certified as a women's healthcare nurse practitioner. Sometimes I explain that like saying that not all nurse practitioners are midwives, but all midwives that are certified nurse midwives are nurse practitioners.
Okay, so why do both?
Why do both?
Yeah, I mean, you're a certified nurse practitioner. You could do can you not do what you do without the midwifery certification?
Yeah, so as a women's healthcare nurse practitioner,
Right.
I can do basic women's healthcare, gynecologic services, prenatal care, but I can't deliver babies.
Okay.
As a midwife, a certified nurse midwife can do everything that a women's healthcare nurse practitioner can do, but also deliver babies.
Okay.
So I didn't have to become dual board certified, but there's a lot of bureaucracy around that, really, truly. But down the road, like let's say years from now, I decide I don't want to do deliveries. I don't want to be on call anymore, and I just want to wear that, WH&P hat. I can do that.
Okay, you could do that. So are there different types of midwives?
There are lots of different types of midwives.
Okay.
So the United States is pretty interesting in terms of how to become a midwife or who can call themselves a midwife. There are certified nurse midwives like myself who have an undergraduate training in nursing, right? So we go to school, we get a bachelor's degree.
You have
in
your
nursing.
RN, right?
Yes, exactly. And generally work for X amount of years, get experience as a nurse, and then go on to graduate school to become a certified nurse midwife. There's also a credential called a CM or certified midwife, which is very similar to a certified nurse midwife in that those individuals have a bachelor's degree in something. It may be biology, it may be music, it may whatever, and then they go to a post-secondary education, a graduate level training to become a certified midwife. Interestingly enough, that is only recognized in maybe like 8 or 9 states in the United States, whereas certified nurse midwives are recognized in all of the United States.
So my wife, God forbid, gets pregnant, and she's a patient in a medical group. Does medical group say you should see a midwife, or do you always get involved with the patient when they're expecting, and how does that relationship develop?
Yeah, not always. It depends. People seek out, like, I want midwifery care. And sometimes, by default, I've seen people too, because being new here, I have more availability on my schedule. And we kind of talk about what the differences between traditional obstetrical care and midwifery care looks like, and how the models are very similar. They're complementary, but they also have their differences as well.
Do the women work with both an OBGYN and a midwife?
Yeah, we work collaboratively. We work closely. Quincy Medical Group is a little bit different than my previous practice, where I had more of a shared patient model where everybody kind of saw everybody. Like, for example, we had 6 midwives and 3 OBs. Everybody kind of cycled through and saw everybody here. At Quincy Medical Group, and most patients of QMG know that, your doctor is your doctor. So that's a little bit different. So my patients are my patients, but I work collaboratively with the OBGYN. So if I needed to consult, collaborate, or refer that patient to them, then I'm able to do so.
So it's interesting that they have OBGYNs and the nurses in that field, but then they bring you in a lot. How much overlap is there in what you do compared to the standard practice or the old time practice?
So a lot.
Okay.
As a midwife who practices within the hospital system, I also have training and background practicing out of hospital. So kind of going back to what we were talking about, other types of midwives, aside from the certified nurse midwives and the certified midwives that I mentioned, there are others. So there are what we call DEMs, or direct entry midwives. Some people use the term lay midwife, which I think is probably
What most people are,
congruent with what
yeah,
you're-
yeah.
And then, or CPM, certified professional midwife. And I actually trained as a certified professional midwife first. And that is a track to training where you get a high school degree, a high school diploma, and then you go straight into midwifery training. You don't necessarily train as a nurse first or have some kind of secondary education prior to your training as a midwife. Now, every other country in the world, that's pretty much how they do it,
Okay.
right? If you, in Europe, in New Zealand, in Australia, wherever, if you come Canada, you decide, I want to be a midwife, you graduate from high school, you go on to become a midwife, you just go to midwifery school. The nursing pieces of that are integrated into the education.
So do you think midwifery is more accepted in those countries outside of the United States?
It is the default.
Is it really?
Yeah, so if you ask any other person in any other country who their primary care provider is for obstetrics, it's a midwife.
Wow, okay.
I actually have a good friend, had a good friend here in the States who was from New Zealand and was seeing an OB here because that's what
All the
she
option,
did.
yeah.
Yeah, and her family was like, oh my gosh, are you okay? Like, they were terrified
Mm-hmm.
something was wrong because the default there is to see a midwife. The OBs only step in when they need that level of care, which is a higher level of care.
So you can be the primary care provider even if the patient is not expecting.
Correct.
Okay, so are you their general doctor then? Do they see you
Provider.
for, you are, so you're a standard provider, you would see them for pneumonia and all that type of stuff also?
I don't do a lot of primary care.
Okay.
I don't do a lot of primary care with like ear infections, pneumonia,
Okay.
general cough, cold, that kind of thing. Sometimes I'll see somebody for like their annual exam and they'll say, hey, can you look in my ears? And obviously I would gladly do that. But usually like a woman's, like a well woman exam, right? So breast exam,
You
pap
can do
smear,
that.
all of those things.
Okay.
Birth control, abnormal uterine bleeding, small gynecologic complaints and concerns. And if it was something that obviously needed surgical intervention, I would refer to my colleagues.
So why do women search you out, and I mean, this may have been not yet in Quincy, search you out over going to an OBGYN? And the first, is it because don't take this wrong way, you're less expensive? Or is it there's other things that you offer that women just find more attractive to them?
I think
The secondary one?
Yeah.
And what is that?
So, and to be clear, there's plenty of women in this community who've been seeking out midwives. Unfortunately, they haven't had a lot of access
Mm-hmm.
to them, so they've either been going to Macomb, they've been going to Springfield, or there have been midwives kind of underground who've crossed state lines to
Okay.
care for these women. And that's all. The majority has been out of hospital birth because there
Okay.
hasn't been access to a midwife who has hospital privileges in this community until now.
You have hospital privileges.
I do.
But why, what's going on in that female's mind to say, I want to see a midwife over, what everybody around here is used to?
Yeah, good question. So,
That's why I get a lot of
the
money.
midwifery model of care is centered around the fact that pregnancy and birth are innate to a woman's ability, right? It's something we've been doing since antiquity, and generally speaking, most women are healthy individuals, and pregnancies are, healthy, and we kind of see that through. Midwives focus on the physiologic process of birth and kind of hold space for that and respect that, our bodies are wise and can do this. So we support women through that journey. Whereas, although OBs and midwives obviously work collaboratively,
Yeah.
and there's a joint statement from the American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology and American College of Nurse Midwifery released a joint statement years back about the collaboration between these professions and how we're both integral pieces of all of that. But we focus more on like the holistic side, right? So recognizing that a person in front of me is a whole person and that they can give birth and do all of these things while also having the clinical knowledge to recognize when things aren't necessarily low risk and normal.
And you mentioned home birth. That's a service you offer?
It is not. I did previously. So I used to practice out of hospital. I used to do birth center and home births in the Pacific Northwest. I do not do that currently because I work for Quincy Medical Group. Everything that I do would be
In hospital?
In hospital,
Is
yes.
that something that may be added to your quiver, though? Or is it because you're with medical group you can't offer that? Or is there possible change with
there's
that?
a lot of medical legal there,
Okay.
right? But it is something that I think is important to the care that I provide, because there are lots of midwives out there. Some of my colleagues that, have only ever practiced in a hospital, and there's some unfortunate things that get kind of thrown around about midwives who only practice in hospitals being midwives. I bring to the table some experience practicing out of hospital. So I meet my patients where they're at. This is about your birth experience. Ultimately, it's not about me. So if you want to have a birth in the hospital that looks like you're having a birth out of the hospital, then we can do that. I've caught babies on the floor. I've caught babies on toilets and in showers in a hospital. I've also done that in a home. But we can make the hospital look as much like your house as you want that to be. Under the guise of everything is going well and safe. We use all the stuff that we have access to, right?
And what I understand, the facility that used to be Bergner's has a lot of less hospital-like rooms, and I haven't been in one, but for the birthing center.
Yeah.
Is that right?
So I haven't been there yet.
Okay.
Everything is still pretty much in development.
You've only been at medical group for like 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, a month.
Okay.
Yeah. I have not.
Will
been
you
out
have
there
a
yet.
say in that, though?
I think I have a seat at the table.
Okay.
I hope so.
They wouldn't have brought you in if you didn't.
Yeah.
Now, you also, I think, after the birth, do you help with lactation and nutrition and all that type of stuff after the birth? Or
Yes,
you
I
don't, so
can.
you don't need to, because I know there's nurses who do that type of work too, but
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not here to step on anybody's toes.
No, I'm
I
not saying
definitely-
that, but-
Yeah, I can definitely help. But
You're
yes,
trained
right,
in
we
that,
have-
yeah.
Yes, yeah, we have lactation consultants. I often defer to them. I consider, it's a collaborative, one-stop birth shop type of thing,
But
right?
if the
Like
co-
you have
but-
midwives and lactation consultants and nurses and OBs and.
But at that point, you have that relationship with the mother
Right.
that they may be more comfortable working with you that they already know. So you can.
Absolutely.
That's my point. Is
Yeah.
not that those people can't do it, but that's
Yeah.
a very intimate relationship. I assume you establish with those patients.
100%. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I'm definitely here to help them with that. I always say I practice relationship-based care. So I want to get to know my patients and their family, their other children, if they have them, and those kinds of things. So I'm definitely here and available to help with that. And if it's something I can't do, then we have other people in the community that will assist as
So
well.
what I'm curious about is you could have been an OBGYN nurse. You are an RN. Why the extra schooling, I'm assuming extra money to become a midwife?
Yeah. Well,
What is there something in your background, or because you have kids?
I do. Yeah. So I was actually the first birth I ever attended was at age 11. My youngest
Oh, Lord.
sister. So I was
Okay.
11 and a half. Yeah. I think my mom probably thought it was like the ultimate birth control, right? Like if she watches me do this, she will never
Yes.
have a kid. Or
Okay.
so I was at my youngest sister's
Do you
birth.
remember that?
I do.
Okay. Do you hold that over your younger sister? I saw you.
No, I don't. But actually, funny enough, I used to work a little bit collaboratively with the OB who delivered her.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
so, yeah, he used to be a hospitalist in one of the hospitals I practiced
Okay.
at in and up in Peoria, and I used to joke about him putting a placenta in my face when I was
Oh,
11.
Lord.
So,
Okay, so
yeah.
but you were at that birth, and then did it just kind of stick with you throughout your life? And
Yeah,
that's,
it had always been the end goal. Yeah.
Okay.
So I did work as an obstetrical nurse for a time, and then moved more into out of hospital
Okay,
birth and
cool.
trained.
Well, good luck.
Thank
and
you.
welcome back to town.
Thank-
I'd like to thank Ashley Stroot from Quincy Medical Group for joining us today, and this has been the Business Spotlight, brought to you by Mercantile Bank and Rober and Phillips Attorneys at Law.